Welcome into the NFL Opening Line Report Conference Championship Week. It is here, AFC, NFC Championship games. We're breaking them down both side and total, where this number's going. Guys in the chat box, welcome in. Let us know what you're betting and why. Teddy Covers, my co-host. Welcome in, buddy. Happy Monday morning to you.
Hey, happy Monday, Drew. Great to be here. And obviously, with the championship games now set, I mean, honestly, we've got a matchup. We've got two matchups that everyone's excited for. If you look at the four best teams in the NFL this year, you can make an argument that they're the last four teams standing. I mean, Tampa didn't win the division, but certainly down the stretch, they were every bit as good. And obviously, yesterday they were better than New Orleans. So let me look at this real quick. From my power rating standpoint, yeah, I mean, my numbers have these, I had Baltimore right there. I had New Orleans lower, Pittsburgh lower, Indy lower. These are the top four teams in my power ratings. Rams were lower. So to see that they're the final four standing in the NFL is not a huge surprise for this bettor.
No. And I don't think it is for a lot of people, Teddy. And they're two good matchups, and talk about good quarterbacks as being a quarterback league. I think, you kind of could have went down the line in the playoffs, the better quarterback winning a lot of the time. We'll see if it happens here. I mean, heck, I think it's hard to pick what's the better quarterback on each team. But without further ado, you ready to break it down, buddy?
I'm trying to think of a game in the postseason where the better quarterback didn't win.
I don't think it happened, at least this year.
Tannehill versus Lamar Jackson, that's a coin flip. But you make a case for Tannehill there, but that's about it. Tannehill didn't have a great game. Yeah, sure. Let's talk some opening lines.
All right, let's start it off here. In order of kickoff, also rotation number 311, 312, 305 Eastern, 1205 Pacific kick here, guys. We're talking Sunday, January 24th. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Green Bay Packers. We got the Green Bay Packers -4 mostly across the board. There is a couple 3.5s out there as we're talking Monday morning, 10 a.m. Pacific time each and every Monday morning. We got 51 primarily being the total here, Teddy. This is in Lambeau Field. There is early warnings of this might be a weather game. It is going to be cold there in Wisconsin. Throw it over to you. Tampa Bay, Green Bay, opening line report style.
Sure. So for what it's worth, okay, here, just from my strict power rating number for the game has Green Bay. I have a 1.5 point power rating differential, and I give the Packers 1.5 points for their home field in this instance. So my number's 3. The markets are at 3.5. You say there's more 4s than 3.5s. I'm seeing more 3.5s than 4s right now. And the leading indicator books are telling us that the 4s, I'm not convinced they're going to be here. If we're going to do one doodly-oop today, it's going to come right here, right now. You want to do it?
Doodly-oop. Emergency betting alert.
And this is one. Well, let me talk about it first. So, if you like the Bucs, I would grab it +4 now. It doesn't look like they were going to be there. Now, last night, I want to talk because I retweeted Kelly Stewart. Kelly put a tweet out last night that said, "If you like Green Bay, bet them now." And it was probably foolish of me to retweet it. But when Kelly retweets something, her info was the same as my info at the time. Okay, everyone I talked to right out of the gate was Green Bay is going to be the play. Green Bay is going to take the money. And the line opened 4.5, which was higher than I thought it was going to open. Like I said, my number was 3. I'm like, maybe they opened 3.5. They opened 4.5. I'm like, geez, the markets have it already. Bettors are seeing it already. If you like Green Bay, jump in. And, of course, the markets moved in the other direction. We saw the money come for the Bucs, and that's why we don't do the opening line report on Sunday nights, and why I don't usually tweet out stuff like that on Sunday nights, because sometimes that initial feel is wrong. And my initial feel was this line came higher than I thought it was going to be, and everyone in my circle was, it looked like there was going to be a fair bit of support for Green Bay. And even though at first instance you're like, wow, that line's high, I mean, when I saw the 4.5, I'm like, that's higher. Oh, man, I was bummed. I'm like, I thought I'd be laying 3. Now it's 4.5. I got to rethink the game completely. That obviously, the 4.5 didn't hold, and it doesn't look like the 4s are going to hold. The trends for the teams that have won 2 road playoff games and are now playing a 3rd road playoff game, they're not good. All right, the track record for those teams, like Tampa Bay, who won at Washington and then won at New Orleans, and now they got to travel again for the 3rd straight week and play the best of the 3 in Green Bay. I got 2-7-1 ATS teams in that role the last 10. Hasn't been real good for the 3rd straight road game. And when we do see the teams win the 3rd straight road game, the wild card teams that make it to the Super Bowl, it always gets a bunch of hype. The Steelers were a 6 seed that took on the Seahawks back in the day, et cetera, et cetera. But Tampa is certainly a team with a fairly significant betting bandwagon. Mm-hmm. When you're talking about Tom Brady, when you're talking about the way they were able to come from behind yesterday in New Orleans, and a lot of that was Drew Brees, and that again, I had a 5% big ticket on Tampa plus the points yesterday, and it was specifically a bet against Drew Brees. I'm like, Brees is not right, he's not ready. Brady can QB, Brees can't, and that played out yesterday exactly as I thought. And people were saying, "Oh, I didn't realize that Drew Brees," and it's like, have you been watching the Saints? But that's what I do. That's my job to do. So I'm supposed to be ahead of the markets on that. And I'm not surprised at all that there was as much, Saints support as there was yesterday, even though the broader market saw what I saw. It was nothing but Tampa money all week. There's been nothing but Tampa money coming here. And the narratives for the 2 games, all right, the narrative for Bucs Saints is Drew Brees was done, and that's why Tampa won. It was the +4 turnover margin. And certainly all 3 Tampa Bay touchdowns in that ball game. And again, they had 6 trips to the red zone, 3 TDs, 3 field goals. Of those 6, the 3 touchdowns all came off of turnovers. And, they completely changed the game. And the turnovers came because several of them came because Brees can't play. And then the one Jared Cook fumble, which was the difference maker in the, again, the Saints are up by a touchdown at that point. They're just outside of field goal range. Cook's got the ball, first down. They're driving. They have all the momentum, and then he fumbles it away. And the Bucs with the return and took momentum of the game, took full control of the game after that, and the Saints never really recovered. So it was certainly, the narrative is the Saints made mistakes as opposed to the Bucs dominated them start to finish. The narrative for Green Bay is Green Bay looked pretty dominant, which is why I wasn't surprised to see the 4.5 at the opener for that contest. And if you're looking at the Packers at home this year, and the Packers spending all year saying we are playing to get this game at home. This was something that Green Bay was talking about in November.
I remember that.
Where we want that home field advantage. Aaron Rodgers had played 4 previous NFC championship games. He played them all on the road. This time he gets it at home. So from a total standpoint, we've seen a little bit of under money, not a ton yet. We're sitting at 51 basically across the board. There are a couple of 50.5s out there as I look at the WagerTalk and Sports Memo live odds screen. But at 51, this number's not likely to move throughout the course of the week until we get a weather forecast. When you talk about a Monday weather forecast for next Sunday, it's about 5 days out. Tuesday, Wednesday, they're going to be a little bit more confident with what they see weather-wise, and that's going to have everything to do with how this total gets bet. It's going to be a pure weather move. If it's bad weather, total gets going to get bet down. If it's warmer and or no wind and or no precipitation, we could well see some money come in on the over, and the public's going to bet the over here. It's what they do. From a side standpoint, it looks to me like a game that, Green Bay's got a pretty big betting bandwagon, but it's not like the Tampa doesn't. Mm-hmm. I would expect two-way public action on. I'm expecting two-way action on both of these games. It's not a situation where, like last week, where it was pros versus Joes in Green Bay, LA, and again, the Joes beat the pros in that game. The pros were all over the Rams defense. The Joes were all over Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers and the Packers have been making the money all year. I wouldn't expect that to change right now. Certainly not at home. So again, I'm not convinced these fours are going to be there. If you like Tampa, I would lock in at +4 now. Total wise, we're going to see it move based on the weather. And if you like Green Bay, again, do I think this game goes down to 3? I don't. I would expect immediate buyback on the Packers if you see a 3 anywhere. So I would think it's 3.5, 4 is where it's going to bounce around for now, and I wouldn't be surprised if it closed 3.5.
Teddy, I like what you had to say there. I mean, betting bandwagon, I would say in the AFC Championship game, there's a little bit more discrepancy in terms of how bettors have done in the past betting both of these teams. So in terms of looking at movement, where the line's going, I think it's a little bit more predictable in that fashion. But Tampa Bay, Green Bay, right around the same record in terms of ATS. So cashing about the same rate for their backers all season long. I mean, when you bring up this total, I think this is a fascinating handicap. I mean, 51.5. First of all, it's a key number in the NFL. And second of all, projecting this weather, I mean, we got the number 1 scoring offense in the NFL in Green Bay, and the Tampa Bay defense, they just allowed 190 passing yards to New Orleans. Now, granted, some of that to Breeze's account and turning the ball over, maybe they looked a little bit better than they should. But overall, I mean, Pro Football Focus has them ranked number 4 passing defense in the NFL. This is a great matchup in terms of how Tampa Bay's defense is going to do against the number 1 scoring offense in Aaron Rodgers, and add in the fact weather could be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about the Packers, the narrative's been their offense all year. It hasn't been about Green Bay's defense. And Green Bay's defense played better down the stretch.
Yes, it did.
Much better. But there's still a question of whether the Packers are vulnerable against the run. And there's still a question about whether Green Bay can create turnovers, because that's not something that the secondary wasn't real good at picking off passes this year. They were, again, better down the stretch than they were for most of the regular season. And that more from a defense can often make you money in the postseason. If the markets are looking at those season-long numbers saying, well, Green Bay's mediocre, Tampa's got the better D, therefore we should be betting Tampa. That narrative for a team that is playing better than their season-long stats would indicate can be a real moneymaker.
Yeah, we don't have to go back very far. I mean, the Chiefs just last year were in that narrative.
They sure were. And their defense played better in the postseason, and they won everyone money who backed them on their way to the Super Bowl title. Now, Tom Brady yesterday was okay. I mean, I'm certainly not going to call him good. The difference is that the Bucs defense was able to make plays and pick off Drew Brees on his mistakes, and New Orleans defense didn't make those same plays against Brady. But Brady had more than his fair share of bad throws yesterday. Brady was not, if you're grading out his quarterback play, was not at Aaron Rodgers level, and he wasn't close. We talked about some of the potential issues for Brady playing in the cold in Washington. None of them came to play. And I was talking about my experience being, moving from Michigan to Las Vegas, and the first time you go back to the cold and you can't even stand it because you're just, you're used to the warmer weather. And Brady played fine in his first cold weather game this year at Washington in the first round of the playoffs against a good defense. And again, they've lit up back-to-back good defenses the last 2 weeks, although, again, all 3 touchdowns came off of turnovers yesterday. But if it's Wisconsin January cold, if we're talking about single digits, maybe it's a different story for Tom Brady in Tampa. I think it's a big difference for this game for the Bucs if the game time temperature is 28 versus if the game time temperature is 6. I think it's a big advantage for Green Bay the colder it gets.
All right, good stuff, Teddy. Teddy, we got a question here in the chat box from Pie Guy. Do you think the books might have a Buccaneers tax with all the futures money on Tampa?
A little bit, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Bucs and the Chiefs are the 2 teams I've heard repeatedly. Like, if 30 of the 32 NFL teams make the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, the books make out. If Tampa or KC makes the Super Bowl, it would not be wins the Super Bowl, I should say. would not be great for the books. So because of all that future liability money on the Bucs, there's some Tampa tax here. But again, if your liability is with Tampa, you're going to try to encourage people to bet Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Even your book. So and say, is it a Tampa tax? Well, no, you might actually get a better price.
Yeah. It's worded incorrectly, but
yeah. The better price might come for Green Bay, given that situation. But that's a book by book scenario. The books that have more liability on the Bucs could well shade their number. The books that don't have that same level of liability, I doubt that we'll see that. And when you talk about the global marketplace, any individual book shading their number, they can only shade it either to 4 or 3.5. No one's shading to 3 when the markets are at 3.5 or 4.
He's Teddy Covers on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. I'm on Twitter at Drew Martin Bets. Guys, thanks for joining us live here in the chat box. We got guys from the other side of the pond in England. We got guys in Mexico City. All welcome in. Yeah, let us know in the chat box where you're watching from. And anywhere is cool. It all works. We got Teddy Covers on WagerTalk and Sports Memo. Guys, check him out. NFL last 12 weeks. He's 25-13. That's 66%. Also 80% in the playoffs. That's short term. He's killing it, guys. In long term, you want some long-term stats here. My favorite stat, 225-171. That's 57% in the NFL betting market since week 1 in 2015. It's $9 Monday at sportsmemo.com. We got college basketball and check it out for NBA as well. Happy MLK Day out there. And we got one more game here, Teddy, live from Las Vegas, Nevada in the NFL championship weekend here, Teddy. We got next game up, 6:40 Eastern, 3:40 Pacific time. This one on CBS, the AFC championship game. The Buffalo Bills at the Kansas City Chiefs. Looks like 54 being the total with KC -3 across the board at home in Arrowhead. They opened up, -1 at Circa, now pushed up to -3. Teddy, I'll throw it over to you. That might be incorrect.
Yeah. So first, I really appreciate all the questions and all the comments in the chat. Thank you so much. And I know Drew will ask me as many as we can get to throughout the course of the show. But your comments, your likes make all the difference, and we genuinely appreciate it. So thank you. Let's talk about this game because this is unique. All right. If this game was played in the regular season, there would be no point spread up on this game. Not a chance. Sacramento Airport. Love it, Joe.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So this is also unique. I'm telling you, this is the difference between having books in Pennsylvania and Jersey and Louisiana and Illinois and Colorado and around the country versus just having books in Las Vegas and offshore. Okay. Vegas wouldn't have hung a number on this game. They'd have sat around and waited for more information. The offshores wouldn't necessarily have hung a number for this game. But what happened was the books in Jersey, the books in Pennsylvania, like, hang something. Let's get some action. We don't know if Patrick Mahomes is going to play or not. The betting markets last night made a very clear and strong statement that they expect Patrick Mahomes to play.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's why the money came on Kansas City. Now, my line with Mahomes, healthy, and all of that. All right. I've got a 2-point powering differential between the teams. I'm giving 1.5 for KC in the postseason, in the playoffs. So my number comes 3.5 for this game. If Mahomes plays, it's going to 3.5. It may well go to 4. Okay. If Mahomes doesn't play, and if he doesn't play, we're not likely to know that until game day. If he doesn't play, the Bills will go the favorite, and who knows how high the line's going to go. I mean, when Chad Henne came into the game yesterday, I'm texting back and forth with my buddy, and I'm like, I'm ranking Henne number 32 out of 32 NFL backup quarterbacks. I'm like,
really?
The Chiefs don't. I mean, I was exaggerating because he had a bet on him. So I was trying to give him grief. But a little bit. But yeah, I rank Henny near the bottom. Absolutely. In terms of his acumen, his abilities. And Henny made 3 plays last night that were wow. I haven't seen Chad Henny make plays like that. The scramble on 3rd and long. Chad Henny doesn't do that. Chad Henny can't move, but it was so poorly defended that he had so much room that he was able to get there. Henny made a great throw over the middle on a 3rd down to put them into scoring range. That, again, Henny can't fit the ball into traffic. I don't want Chad Henny taking shots into traffic over the middle. And he threw a strike yesterday. He got a 1st down, put him right into field goal range. And, of course, the 4th down throw that everyone is going to talk about, as they should, because it was as ballsy a call as you'll ever see from Andy Reid. And the execution was there, and Chad Henny got it done. And we'll give him all the credit in the world for making those plays, those 3. Chad Henny also threw about an ugly a duck of an interception that you can possibly throw, where he just chucks it up into the end zone. And, and I was tweeting at the time, like, that's the Chad Henny that I know, the Chad Henny that couldn't beat Ohio State, the Chad Henny that has failed in every opportunity an NFL starter, the Chad Henny that is a bottom tier backup. But the thing that Andy Reid likes about him, he knows the system, he's comfortable, he makes veteran plays. Chad Henne's not going to lose any games for you in that respect, with the exception of his bad turnovers, which he has pretty consistently throughout the course of his NFL career. But Henny was able to make plays and win yesterday. All that said, if Chad Henny plays, the Chiefs' offense goes from the best offense in the NFL, or one of the 2 or 3 best offense in the NFL, to, at best, mediocre. Okay? That's, when you have the Patrick Mahomes behind QB and you bring him in with a replacement level backup. All right. The Bills go off the favorite. All right. The only question is, how high does Buffalo go? I think Mahomes to Henny is at least a touchdown worth of difference. Okay. -4 to +3. At least. Maybe more. When you talk about the team's level of preparation, the team's level of confidence, the team's ability to withstand adversity, the team's ability to avoid mistakes. Kansas City didn't punt yesterday, okay? They didn't punt, and they scored 22 points, which speaks, A, to longer, slower drives, which is what they had to do given the defense that they were facing and the way that defense approached it. It speaks to the inability to put the biscuit in the basket. KC's been struggling in the red zone for the better part of the back half of the season. And we are talking about a Chiefs team now that is 0-8-1 against the spread in their last 9, despite going 8-1 straight up in those ball games. And that doesn't happen in the NFL. You don't cover that, win that many games without covering any of them. And that's what the Chiefs have done, which means their betting bandwagon is broke. Flat out broke. If you've been betting the Chiefs, you've lost every game. You haven't won a bet since November 1st against the Jets. If you bet them right at the close against New Orleans, they closed 2.5 against New Orleans and won that game by 3. So you might have got, if you were one of the lucky few who got that, 5 minutes before kickoff, you may have cashed a bet there. But it's a team that, despite winning the Super Bowl championship, defending Super Bowl champs, despite playing at home, despite having a superstar at quarterback and a superstar at coach, and everyone knows Kansas City's players in a way they don't know Tennessee's players or something, with all of that, all right, this team has no betting bandwagon, which stands in sharp contrast with Buffalo, because the Bills have been significant moneymakers for their backers this season. And they played their best football down the stretch. And every week, Buffalo attracts more and more teams in their betting bandwagon. And when you look at the pantheon, of how these things tend to go, this is where teams like the Bills are supposed to crap out. Last year, they make the playoffs for the first time. This year, they go on a run in the playoffs for the first time. And in theory, next year's the year that, this year they go to the Super Bowl. No, it is next year. It's this trajectory for teams like Buffalo. That said, how much do we trust Kansas City right now?
I don't think very much.
Nobody does. How can you? They haven't looked hungry. They haven't been able to blow anybody out. They have some issues on the defensive side of the football, and they have some issues on the offensive side of the football. So where's this line going to go? Again, last night, the markets made a strong statement. They think Mahomes is going to play. And if Mahomes plays, even without the bandwagon for Kansas City, could it go above 3? Absolutely. Will it go to 3 minus 120? That much I'm confident. It'll be 3 minus 120, 3 minus 125. And if Mahomes gets announced as in, it'll go. I do think it goes up to 3.5 or 4.
On the other side,
if Mahomes, and again, this won't come out until Sunday, but if Mahomes is announced as out, it's going to be. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people shoving a lot of big bets in on Buffalo very quickly, and when that happens, the markets. You can see irrational exuberance in the markets. You can see the markets do some stuff that's pretty wacky. And when, 500 wise guys are trying to push all in on Buffalo at the same time, I couldn't see, I would be shocked if the Bills didn't go off a minimum of 2.5 and probably 3 and maybe 3.5 or higher, depending on, how quickly the books react. From a total standpoint, I mean, we're seeing 54s as a prevailing number right now. There is a prominent 55 out there. There is a prominent 53.5 out there. So there is some variance in the total marketplace right now. If Chad Henne plays, I'm telling you, the Chiefs and totals in the 50s doesn't make sense. Okay, Chad Henne's not I'm going to march this team up and down the field and make the throws that Patrick Mahomes is making. He's not going to do it. He can't do it. That's not in his skill set. His skill set is game manage and don't screw it up too bad, which is not what we would expect to see for a total of 54.5, 54. But again, the markets are saying we think Mahomes is going to play. And when you watch the hit Mahomes took, you didn't see him actually take the knee to the back of the head. So no one's like, oh, it's a concussion. Oh, and then Reed tried not to use the concussion word last night. But this is all protocol now, okay? There's not anyone that gets to make the decision except the doctors. And the doctors, despite the pressure they're under, if he doesn't pass the protocol test, he doesn't pass the protocol test. It is what it is. The total will drop like a rock. The Bills will take money like a hand over fist, and these threes will disappear. So expect this line only to move in a real way once we have status on Mahomes. And again, last night the markets did tell us they expect Patrick Mahomes to be in the lineup for Kansas City on Sunday.
And Teddy, we get a lot of people in the chat box talking, concussion. Was it a nerve issue with what happened to Mahomes? Because, the hit really wasn't on his helmet and they've kind of been tight-lipped. It's actually a little difficult to figure out exactly what the injury was.
Looked like he took something right through the back of his neck.
Yeah.
And that's why, when you saw him stand up and he did that stagger, stagger wasn't even the right word. I mean, he couldn't stand up.
Yeah, it looked like a fighter, that just took a big hit.
Yeah, and that to me looked like a back of the neck, and we don't know. We don't know what Mahomes is going to do. And again, Kansas City is a team that spent a lot of money in a lot of different places. They didn't have money for backup quarterback. That's the area where they're like, all right, we're not going to spend, all right, this guy knows the system. Well, they didn't have the money to bring in a Jameis Winston. Who Sean Payton got him off the bench yesterday to throw a touchdown and then put him right back on the bench and watched Breeze play the rest of the way. I guess Breeze earned that. But there wasn't any question that, which quarterback would have been the better quarterback yesterday. Okay. It would have been Winston. Okay. Yeah. In this instance, if Mahomes can stand, he's the better of the two QBs and it's not close. So it's a game where, again, the injury info is going to be paramount and side and total will be affected dramatically. But again, we may not have info on that until Sunday. So be prepared for a long week of waiting. And the market, what the markets may well do, every bit of news they get, they bet it one way or the other. Oh, Mahomes did this today. Oh, we better get money on KC. Oh, Mahomes didn't do this today. Oh, we better get money on Buffalo. There's only 2 games to bet on in the NFL this week, and in these type of environments, every bit of news tends to detract wagers as soon as the news comes out. So this might be one of those weeks to, buy on the rumor, sell on the news.
It's a fascinating handicap. It really is, Teddy. And, just listening to you talk, and I'm going over kind of the percentages in my head, I almost think it's worth it. And I want to get your opinion here on maybe just taking Buffalo +3 because of what you said in terms of if Mahomes does play, it maybe goes to 3.5 or 4. But if he doesn't play, it could go all the way to, heck, who really knows? It's one of those situations you don't want to catch a falling knife. You were throwing out the numbers 2.5, 3, 3.5, maybe where does it end here? You almost get in a 50-50 toss-up situation, more, I guess, risk reward, more reward to betting on Buffalo. No, at this point on Monday?
I'll ask you this. If Mahomes plays, you feel good with the Bills +3 ticket in your pocket?
I don't feel terrible about it.
Okay. Then that's a bet you can make today.
Yeah.
Conceptually, I don't disagree with you. I'm not betting it until I know. I'm not because if Mahomes plays, I think it goes higher. Why would I take 3 when I can get 3.5 or 4?
Because that outcome is not known. I mean, we're talking here, and we're multiple days away from the game, and we don't know if he's going to play. We could throw a 50-50 on it, but you get more upside to betting the Bills, and the fact that, the trend is your friend in sports betting. The Bills are 10-1 their last 11. KC hasn't covered a game since who knows what month. They've been a money loser for multiple months now, Teddy.
Yeah, again, the Chiefs haven't covered a spread in their last 9, and the Bills, the only game they didn't cover was the Hail Murray in Arizona. During that entire span. I mean, it's been 2 teams that have very different betting bandwagons right now. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But the markets said that it's not a 50-50 proposition. Okay. The markets are saying, we think Mahomes is going to play. They're not saying we don't know. They're not saying it's kind of, maybe, sort of, could be. They're saying, we expect that Andy Reid's going to have his starting QB this week. Okay. So if you're going to view it as a 50-50 proposition, absolutely it makes sense to look at Buffalo +3. But the markets are saying it's not a 50-50. That even though Mahomes isn't listed that way and it won't be listed that way, that he's quote-unquote probable.
Okay. Yeah, and that's a factor we got to bring in as well. It might not be a 50-50, guys. So, heck, that's it, Teddy. We got the 2 games in the books here. We got the emergency betting alert. Do we need to recap it here?
Sure, we may as well. In case you tuned in late. And I appreciate all you guys watching live. If you're watching on replay, again, give us a like, throw a comment in. We appreciate that too. It's not only if you're watching live for that. So, but yeah, let's recap it just in case.
Okay, so we got just one emergency betting alert in the Tampa Bay Green Bay game, or are we throwing another one out there totals wise?
I think that if you like the Bucs at +4, those +4, they're not going to be there. That's my opinion.
All right. Emergency betting alert towards the Tampa Bay Buccaneers +4. It might not be there by kickoff. Guys, we really appreciate you joining us live here, breaking down the championship game. We will be back next Monday with the early look opening line report. Next Monday, 10:10 a.m. Pacific time for the Super Bowl edition of the opening line report. And we're going all through the season, guys. We got off season in the NFL, college basketball, NBA we'll be breaking down as well. So appreciate everybody joining us from all different parts of the country. We had Sacramento Airport in here, Teddy. A couple guys from New York, the Northeast well represented, Fort Myers, Florida, Mexico City, England. A lot of cool places out there. We appreciate everybody joining us. Teddy, throw it back over to you. Anything you want to throw out there before we shut this down?
Yeah, I'd love to see you guys in Vegas, man. It'll come. We'll have to have an opening line report party. One week, maybe before the season starts or something like that. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Because nobody does, we're all shut-ins these days. It'd be good to get out and about. But appreciate all the likes, all the comments. Thank you guys so much. The feedback for the show blows me away, and I appreciate it. Hopefully, we gave you some decent info today. And again, we'll do it again next week. Aloha. Thank you so much, Steve.
Yeah, we got Hawaii getting up early for it. We appreciate you there, Steve. And like Teddy said, guys, really appreciate you. Maybe, who knows, maybe July, August, we get an opening line report party in Las Vegas, Nevada. Teddy covers And I am Drew Martin, live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Guys, we really appreciate it. Next Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Come and join us. Also, if you're watching on replay, that's cool too. Please smash the like button and feel free to leave a comment below here on the YouTube channel, WagerTalk YouTube. For Teddy Covers, I'm Drew Martin. Best of luck with your bets, guys. We'll talk next Monday.